Hello and welcome to Business on the Vine. I'm your host, Lady Jen Du Plessis. Today I have with me Christine. Nice to see you. You look beautiful, by the way.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you.
so
That
good.
that means a lot coming from you.
Oh, well, thank you. We met on the Monsters Cruise. We did a couple years ago, and you're Connor's mom.
We've caught her.
Little, it's an inside joke, but I want to kind of tell about it. We kept saying, but I don't know your name. And you're Connor's mom. You're Connor's mom. And so she became, you would say, Connor's mom.
We actually went on the marketers cruise.
Yeah.
Connor had started a business at 14, and so we went there to support him.
Yeah.
So I wasn't there for me, and now
Right.
I bloomed into
Yeah.
me, and but nobody knew who I was other than Connor's mom.
I remember talking to him at dinner. We had a nice conversation with him one night at dinner that first year that you came. And, so I think you've been there now 3 years.
Yes.
3 years now. Yeah, I love it. So tell us a little bit about how you started in the business that you're doing. Since we're talking about Connor, right? Let's talk about how your business flipped and started.
Well, first, I want to thank you for inviting me out here.
Okay.
This is just exactly what my soul needed to be out here in this beautiful wine country.
Yeah.
And it's always a good time when I get to spend some time with you and
Thank
Brian.
you.
So thank you. And it is kind of funny that we started with Connor. He seems to take up a lot of space. It's, fabulous. So, like I said, he had started his business at age 14, and it became quickly apparent that we needed a, a source of funding other than bank of mom and dad. And I think a lot of people who were starting out their businesses and entrepreneurs, solopreneurs can really feel what that feels like to be funding their business out of their bank account. And it's not how it should be done.
No.
And we have solutions.
Yeah.
And
So he started his business. You started snooping into how do we get some money for him? How do we release it? So you really set on a novice path, right? The good, the bad, the ugly. Tell us about that path. Did it start out? And where did you even find out about donations? Right? I don't even shouldn't say donations. That all I do.
yeah. Actually, I'm glad you did because we're going to talk a little bit about that. So funnily enough, they did not teach me anything to do with entrepreneurism in my electrical engineering courses.
Of course not.
And so I was at a total loss. And as the universe provides when you step into opportunity, I had a friend step up and say she had written millions of dollars of grants for nonprofits, and she asked if she could teach us how to write grants. I didn't even know that grants, like a lot of people didn't even know that they were available for for-profit businesses. And so we started writing grants, and this was way before ChatGPT. So we did it old school. And what I found is not only did Connor get awarded some grants that completely changed the trajectory of his business, but also when we would go to markets and when I would listen to him talk to other people, I found that it had sharpened the axe, because when they ask you, tell us about how you started your business, you get like 850 words to do that.
Right. So you can't talk in circles.
You can't. There's not room for fluff. And, I'm sure you've gone into some of these networking meetings and found people who can't just really telling you very succinctly what they do. And so it was just getting transformed everything about his business, not just the money.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, and that would bring me back. I used to do VC venture capital pitches up in New York. And we used to fly up in the morning and do our pitch and come back, and then we never hear from them again. And sometimes we heard from them, right? And we had to get very, very good at just get to the point, get to the bottom line, move on. And I know that, you are just a mom whose son decided, hey, I'm going to start a business, and now you have to figure out how to get the money. You come from a very beautiful, extensive background. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, thank you. It took us a long time to conceive Connor. So he was the blessing that we thought we weren't going to get, first of all. And then when he came into this world, he had a number of health challenges. and we took alternate like I do with everything. I took the alternative route. And
Uh,
I'm glad we did because it took 14 years to get him diagnosed. And a lot of the kids that have what he has are no longer with us. So
yeah.
even though it took a little bit of time, I remember him saying, I don't feel better. And the doctor said, you heal before you feel. So any of you that are struggling with, well, I tried all of
Interesting.
that and it didn't work. Um, it maybe just didn't try long enough. And so during that journey, we found the microgreens, and it was something not only that nourished his stomach and his body, but it really nourished his soul. And so when COVID hit, he said, "Mom, we need to teach people how to grow microgreens." And so really stepped into entrepreneurism again, not knowing what I was getting
Right.
into,
Right.
but what a great family journey. Nothing will either bring you together or tear you apart than working together as entrepreneurs. And thankfully for us,
Yeah.
it really brought us together.
Yeah. I mean, we love working with family. We had our family business years ago. All my kids were, well, I feel like I did not do say that slave labor. I just went, we're thinking. I mean, but we, yeah, I would set folders out on the floor and I go, okay, you guys need to fill these in. And I thought, oh, I'm educating them because you put all these folders in this thing and then come back around and do this. And they were even, generating and talking to people about getting mortgages. And, they were, we did all the loans for the teachers and the doctor, I mean, all the coaches and stuff. They come home and say, Coach Doesn't have to get a loan. And so, where's my money? And I go, no, it doesn't work that way. But we and my husband and I, have worked together for 17 years plus. And it does take something to work with family, but there's nothing that can replace family for loyalty and commitment, and all of those beautiful pieces of a part. I love that you're all working as a unit, because you go on the cruise as a unit and everything's a unit. So I love that. We're going to take a quick break and I want to come back and talk more about your career. I want to ask the question again. Make sure we're talking about your career. All right. And so stick with us. We'll be right back. We're going to talk more about what she's saying. Thank you so much for coming back. We are happy to have you here. We're sitting here chatting with Christine about all kinds of fun stuff. We're going to really learn some things that will help businesses. Yep. And we also want to say thank you to Firefly Cellars because we're here in their beautiful bat room. This isn't even a bat room. It's a cellar. That was my husband's voice in the background. Yeah, it's where their cellar is. And it's the first time I have been in this room. I didn't even know it existed. And I've been here hundreds of times. So we want to thank them for this beautiful wine that we're sipping on there. Yeah, it's really good. It's good. So Christine, I really want to talk about your previous job experience because you were working with the government. You had a great job. So I want to talk about that and how that applies to what you're doing as an entrepreneur, because even though, and I come to corporate too, even though we think we're not entrepreneurs in that space, we do bring some skills with us and some expertise. So in your new space, and we'll be talking about that here shortly, but in your new space, what are some of the skills that you developed as, being in a government corporate world into entrepreneurism, because there's so many people that are starting a second career as an entrepreneur.
One time I think that's such a great question because one time I was, I don't know, listening to a podcast or whatever, and they said, you should take because you don't really think, does this apply to this?
Yeah.
So that's such a pointed question. And to sit down and think about what are the skills that I have utilized in my past life.
Mm-hmm.
And I did, all the radars around the United States have a modification that I put in, and I had to write the plan of how they install it.
Right. For aircraft. We just want to make sure which radars, right?
Yeah. For the FAA, for the Federal Aviation Administration. And I think that whole process taught me about really looking through like SOPs or your,
project management. all that.
Just look at and to also go out and get somebody else's opinion that knows nothing about what you're doing, because they need to if they can understand it, then you know that you've written it to the level
Good
that
point.
people are gonna
Yeah.
be able to.
Good point. And this gets back to what you were saying before when you go out networking and people are just like, "Well, I don't know what I do. I'm trying to explain what I do," right? That clarity of being able to define what you're doing and who you're serving, I think is going to be really important for a business owner.
Yeah, because people don't know what you know about what you do.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and so that is such an amazing skill to have, to be able to have somebody follow you through what you want them to understand. And to really to look at what they don't know and wait, you assume people know certain things and they may or may not know
Yeah.
them. So
Yeah.
it's a skill, the skill in grant writing for sure.
Yeah. So SOPs, process management, those types of things. What are some other skills that you have picked up on in the entrepreneurial world now from other entrepreneurs? Because you're not a baby in business, but you're a baby as entrepreneur, right? And so you're going, wow. And what are you learning from other people that, and again, this is for business owners, right, that are struggling or succeeding or maybe need to pivot, whatever the case may be. What have you learned from other entrepreneurs?
You can do it alone. You can figure out how to get from point A to point B. And I mean, pretty much everybody has that ability, but why would you recreate that process if you could lean into somebody who's been there and done that? It may cost a little bit of money upfront, but I think our biggest value in what we have is our time and our
Oh, of
energy.
course.
And so investing in yourself, investing in your thought processes, because you're going to be your worst enemy. What you think on a daily basis affects everything. And they say that you are the sum total of the 5 people you hang around with the most. And so I had to do a little looking at who was I hanging around with. And that's a lot of why we ended up doing things like going to the marketers cruise, is to surround Connor with and myself and my husband with people who think differently. And so that's probably the biggest thing that I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that too, because, I mean, to a certain extent, yeah, you could do this alone, but it'll take you 10 times as much time and probably 20 times as much money because you'll have all the mistakes on the way. And that's not to say that when we get a mentor or an advisor, and I'm an advocate for that, for doing that until the very beginning and all through your career. You should never be without someone else to throw these ideas at, because we can't see our own ears. In fact, one of my coaches said to me one day, he said, I'm just curious, Jen, don't you coach on this topic that you're struggling with? And I was like, yes, yes, I do. I do. Right. But we just don't see it in ourselves. So I love that you're saying, to seek that out sooner rather than later.
It's why they don't allow doctors to doctor themselves.
Yeah.
Even a doctor goes to another doctor because you don't see what you're too close. It's like the fish in the water.
Yeah.
It doesn't know what's in the water.
Yeah. But it doesn't know that. I love that. Okay, so you're doing this grant writing for Connor's business, and then started realizing, wow, maybe there's something here. Maybe so other people are saying, well, how'd you get that for him? Maybe you could do it for me. Maybe there's a business to be had here. And so we're gonna take a quick break, but when we get back, we want to talk about how did that shift happen? How did you all of a sudden realize, oh my gosh, I can have a business too? So, hey, stay with us. We'll be right back. Okay, so here we are. We're back again. Thank you so much for joining us. We're here talking with Christine. We're talking about, the transition from a corporate, in your case, government, right? A corporate government rolled into entrepreneurship and what that means and how you can bring those skills in. And I think this is super important because we do have great skills. We do have excellent experience or credibility, tenure, whatever the case may be. And when we come into entrepreneurship, we start just kind of going, I don't know if I'm really good at this or not, right? There's something wrong here, right? But you saw something in what you were helping with Connor, and getting him grants. Tell us how this now propelled into your world.
Well, it's funny. We live in a small town, Amelia Island, and as soon as something like Connor got his grant and it changed everything, it's amazing. I became like everybody's best friend. I got a
Wow.
lot of coffee invitations. We'd
Mhm.
go out to coffee, we'd sit down, and we would walk people through the process. And every time we would leave, Connor would poke me in the arm and he'd say, "You're really good at this, Mom."
Ah,
And I go, "Yeah, I really love it." And that idea that if you do what you love, that you would do for free, you'll never work a day in your life. I started looking at it with the encouragement of Connor to start my own business. And really what propelled me to make it a business is that I knew if I did the work and made it a course and opened it up, I could affect so many more people's lives than just the one or two going to coffee. And I know that if I can walk somebody over that hump, they say 50% of businesses fail by year 5, and the number one reason is funds.
yeah.
And if we can just get over that hump, it relieves so much of the stress. They have more flexibility. And I found that a lot of entrepreneurs have amazing, amazing products or services that they're bringing forth. And so it wasn't so much the money as it is a lot of work to put together and bring forth this.
Which is why most people don't do it, because it's just such an unknown. We don't know what we don't know. And there's all this grant money out there that's not being utilized, but no one's doing anything to teach us.
Right.
So it just tickles me, and it really brings joy to my heart to know that I can affect somebody in such a fundamental way with their business. So yeah, love it. That's good. So you started walking into that. Did you have any nerves about it? Did you have, it's one thing to do it behind the scenes, and we get a grant, we don't get a grant, no big deal. But did you have any nerves as you went into that? Because business owners do that. They have nervousness. What are people going to think? What if we fail? What's going to happen? So where were your nerves at this point?
All the things. I wasn't in one. And the other one is to walk into this and then have people ask you, as you're starting up, well, what's your success rate? And you go, oh, I just started, right?
Yeah.
So
So finding that trust, we know this in business, we work with people we know, like, and trust. And so you're saying, what I'm doing, you know who I am, you like me, but I don't know if you have that trust value because you're walking in and saying, hey, I don't know if this could be successful. Tell us about your first client that was not your family or friend, your first client, and how that went.
So it actually was, I was invited to step up on stage before I had anything put together. Really, to be honest, before I even decided I was going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a number of people sign up. So it wasn't just one. I was thrown into the den, and I really did a lot of work with some coaches to overcome the imposter syndrome. Anyone struggling with that, there
Yeah.
are some amazing people that do amazing work. So that was the first point. And then when I remember we went on the marketers cruise, and one of my clients, he's a chiropractor, so he's very busy. And when I came off of the cruise, having just had my first live call, he had written 5 grants.
wow. And I was so.
So you're giving everybody this framework. So you created the framework, and now you're giving people the framework, as opposed to, hey, send me some money that you're going to invest in, and I will write it for you. Yeah. How long did it take you to create a framework that can be duplicatable amongst two businesses?
So Connor and I sat down together. He's really my partner in this. It's the one who pushed me into it. So my muse. Yes, that one earlier. Right. And we developed. So, like I said, when we first started, AI wasn't a thing, and so we developed these tools. And it didn't take very long once we really did our framework and we started putting it together. And then as it started rolling, I just became so excited because I saw the possibilities.
Yeah.
And we've taken somebody from never having written a grant to submitting a grant in an hour.
Oh my goodness, that's wonderful. And I don't want anyone to think, oh, well, then that's fine. I can learn that too. Because you have this history and this experience of doing, standard operating procedures. You were writing proposals, you were doing all that anyway. So there's a skill set that's behind there. So you don't want to make anyone feel like, oh, I can just do a written split. This is what your hard work did and how it's now applying to.
Right. And I have on my team the person who had written millions of dollars in grants. It really is about, you can throw the spaghetti against the wall, but until you understand that you need to cook it and not too long, all of those things,
Yeah.
until you do all the things knowing where that sweet spot is, that it's going to stick on the wall, you can, and it really, there are a lot of things are not super difficult, but there are a lot of things that you need to know. And with AI, I was told that a lot of the nonprofits are now saying, do not submit an AI generated proposal, because they had somebody who wrote four different proposals were exactly the same thing. So it's really understanding how to make yourself stand out from everybody else.
I have so many more questions, but we're running out of time. And one of those questions, so I'm just going to leave this for everybody else, right? One of those questions is, are grants available for somebody who's starting, someone who's mid-range? What are the circumstances that grants are available for? And I'm just going to leave that open so that you can answer that for people. So tell everyone how they can get in touch with you.
So you can get in touch with me on my website at freemoneyu, the letter U, like umbrella.com. You can also take out your cell phone and text funded, FUNDED, to 26786. Funded to 26786. I have some free gifts that I will share with you when you get in touch with me.
Will it answer those questions I asked? Probably not. You have to call her.
You can book a call with me, and I will share the answers.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for joining me at Firefly Cellars. We're going to continue to have our wine, and I want to say thank you so much for watching and listening in. We will catch you next time on Business on the Vine.